mean, Bessie Smith was a 1920s blues singer, and for me, she was one of the first. I got into music because I loved the blues, and she was one of the first female blues singers I heard, and I thought she was the most magical, wondrous thing I'd ever heard in my life. And she has a very interesting story because she was not like a lot of singers. She was way ahead of her time. She lived a very, very interesting and colourful life, and there's a lot of myths and legends around her and her stories. And she died quite tragically in a car accident. And the story goes that the man who drove the car was her lover at the time, called Richard Morgan, and she had a string of very sort of sad, terrible breakups. And the story goes that Richard Morgan and her were quite happy, actually, and she was just kind of doing her comeback into music, and then this happened, and Richard Morgan is sort of got out of the car accident unscathed, but she didn't. She died. And I wrote a song called The Ballad of Richard Morgan, which is from the perspective, because no one knows what happened to him, of what it must have been like for someone to be in that car driving that sort of dark highway when it happened. It was like a very dangerous road when it happened, and what it must feel like to lose your lover when you were driving the car. And there's a poem
called Blues for Bessie, and it talks about how when she died, the newspapers basically reported that she bled to death because the only hospital in the vicinity refused to treat her because she was a Negro woman at the time. Yeah. So this poem is about, the poem called Blues for Bessie is really about who's implicated in her death. And I think like the Ballad of Richard Morgan talks about how the guilt he felt about driving the car. It's not a happy piece. The next piece is not a happy piece. We're not ending in a happy note. Okay. Let the people know what they did in that southern town. Let the people know what they did in that southern town. While they left poor Bessie dying, with the blood lord streaming down. Bessie left Chicago in a brand new Cadillac, didn't take no suitcase, but she wore her mourning black. Bessie wore her mourning black. She went riding down in Dixie, Lord, and they shipped her body back.
When my lover sings, she brews a tempest, howls out of her dark lips, stormy weather crashes onto me like waves of the water, washing this sentiment clean.
Lord, wasn't it a terrible when that rain came down? Yes. Wasn't it terrible when that rain came down and old death caught poor Bessie down in that Jim Crow town? Well, the thunder rolled and the lightning broke the sky. The thunder rolled and the lightning broke the sky, and you could hear poor Bessie mourning. Great God, please don't let me die.
Can be found down Highway 61. Your note unfinished still suspends above a cloud in minor key. It stays forever gray, but it never rains down on me. No, it never rains down on me.
She hollered, Lord, please help me, but he never heard a word she said. Holler, please, somebody help me, but they never heard a word she said. Friend, when your luck runs out in Dixie, well, it done do no good to pray.
I didn't need no radio that night. Down on Highway 61, Bessie sang me a sweet lullaby.
Let the people know what they did in that southern town. Let the people know what they did in that southern town while they left poor Bessie dying, with the blood lord streaming down.
When my lover sings, fingers gouge out my eyes, dislodge from sockets the plaguing heart, cracked bones and blood spilled on in